My name is Jared Stern, and you're listening to Wrapped, the official podcast of the Tefillin Project, a project which gives tefillin to people who have never received a pair before. Here is where you will get to listen to the most inspiring people involved in the mitzvah of tefillin. On our fifth episode of Wrapped, I interviewed Jerry Heller, a 72-year-old man from Portland, Oregon. Jerry was born into a family who were extremely connected to Judaism, most notably a direct descendant of the Vilna Gaon, but lost connection with his Jewish roots from bar mitzvah age until last year when he was approached by a Chabad rabbi in Portland. One thing led to another, and this past summer I was fortunate to surprise Jerry with his first pair of tefillin. Hi, Jerry. Thank you so much for joining us for our fifth edition of Wrapped, the Tefillin Project podcast. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you. I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk. My name's Jerry Heller. I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm an old guy. I'm 72 years old. Um, I've lived in Portland since I was, I guess, 10 or 11 years old. We only had periodic associations with synagogues here in town. And it was a long drive from my house all the way downtown where all the synagogues were located. So it was really, my background was really sporadic. And, there's kind of a sad thing about it. I hate to use that word, but is that my family has a really rich history and yet a Jewish history, and yet nobody really talked about it. I was raised in a house where you were not to be seen and not to be heard. So I tried to just observe and watch and absorb as much as I can from all of these relatives that I have. And, they spoke Hebrew and they spoke Yiddish and, they were the real deal. But none of that really ever got passed down. So as I was growing up and getting older, let me back up. I did have a bar mitzvah at Sherry Torah, and I was confirmed there. And that's pretty much where my Jewish background ended, uh, or education, I should say. But I have an interest in history. So I started recording all of these things, these memories that I had from meeting all of the elders, I guess you might say, some related and some not. But I was always interested. So I would read books periodically, stories mainly of Eastern European places like Vilna or Belarus, places like that. And I would absorb that history, but I could never really put it all together. I could never really find the link, but I knew somewhere along the line I would fit in there. So I eventually got married and I raised four kids. And still, there was always an interest in Judaism in the back of my brain. And I still was doing my genealogy and finding out a lot of interesting things. But again, I couldn't connect them together to me. So eventually, as time went by, uh, I left Portland and I moved to a small community in California. And they had a synagogue, but it was almost like you had to have an appointment to see anybody there. It just was, it was a building and that was about it. So I eventually, after that, moved back to Portland and continued my genealogy and my research into historical things I was interested in. And then one day I noticed in the local paper that there was a menorah lighting in Gresham. And that's something that I never would have expected. We never had a rabbi back in my day. And there weren't any Jews around there where I lived, to my knowledge. So anyway, I saw in the paper that there was a menorah lighting, and I did the follow up and found Rabbi Dice and I found Chabad and started my education again. He has done a lot for me, and so has Chabad. And one of the things that I really like about Abad is the website because I have questions all day long that get answered on that Abad website. It's amazing. But in the meantime, after getting to know Rabbi Dice a little bit better and knowing how persistent and tenacious he can be, um, I started getting calls on this one particular week from him. Like, are you going to be over on Tuesday night? And I said, yeah, Rabbi, I'll be there. But he knows that I can be a little bit flaky. Sometimes I can't show up. So he stayed right on my tail. And I got there that night and I was given a tefillin. I can't believe it. Um, it was, uh, to use the word honor would be not a strong enough word. What doesn't really have enough meaning in it, but it was, and then some. So um, I'm not the greatest student in the world, but I was given a book to go along with the tefillin, and I've been practicing. And I have a little bit of difficulty rewrapping the straps, but I'm getting onto it. But maybe it's just because they're still kind of new and they're stiff. But the nice thing about the tefillin is it tied me into a lot of the things that I had been studying and reading about and trying to figure out how to make them mine. So I've been studying the tefillin and studying how it's made and what the parts are called and how it's put together and who does it. And that to me is kind of important to know what that's comprised of. But I try to do it every day uh, in the mornings, and sometimes it's a little difficult to squeeze in the time and then not forget to do it. But during since October 7th, I've been trying to do it 4 days a week. And uh, although I don't understand all the words that are in the prayer, I read it in Hebrew, but I don't understand Hebrew. Um, because I don't have that language knowledge, I decided that I would not take the tefillin off right away and to sit and sort of meditate and contemplate things. Nothing particular except a list that I made. Oh, where is it? Of the names of the hostages. And so just, I would gaze at the names and think about them. So that's kind of where I'm at these days with the fill-in.
Jerry, thank you so much for an amazing explanation. I guess why don't we um, wind back a little bit? You mind sharing with us? And I think it's been circulating a little bit, at least to the Tefillin Project crew. But apparently, you come from some very significant, I guess, lineage in a way. Or do you have any relatives who are very prominent, I guess, in history for the Jews?
Well, um, it, I'm in a direct line, if you could call it that, to the Vilna Gaon. Now, I'm not the only one. There are 20 or 25,000 others. So I'm just a little pea, tiny pea, maybe not even a pea. But it's kind of interesting because as I've been studying that line, my last name Heller pops up. Now I'm related to the Gaon, I was always told, through the Siegel side. But as I was following the chain back, the Siegels and the Hellers intermarried hundreds of years ago. And I also found out the Schneerson name is in there. So now I'm trying to figure out, from what I can see, a Schneerson married a Siegel, which is my mom's side, but the Hellers were right in there too. So I'm trying to find out if, you know, uh, Rabbi Schneerson maybe was a real shirt tail relative of mine, and that'll help to bring it all together. Perhaps that'll be the end of that avenue of search.
Oh, I wish you much luck in trying to figure that out. And I guess too, from time when you had your bar mitzvah to the time that Jack, another person in the Tefillin Project who was with me, we traveled to Portland this past summer, and I came to deliver your pair of tefillin for you. Was there any relationship with Hashem those those years in between, or was there any yearning or desire to search for something more or anything along those lines, or was really just wasn't really in the picture? And then once Chabad came into the picture close to a year or two ago, with Rabbi Dice and Gresham, that's when you started getting back involved again and putting tefillin on and eventually getting your own pair.
That is true. And prior to meeting Rabbi Dice, I always took a stab at trying to fill in the gaps of Judaism that I knew I was missing. When I went to Sunday school, I really felt ignorant because the other kids knew all the songs and they knew the dances and they knew who Maimonides was and things like that. I didn't, but they had been going to Sunday school since they were probably kindergarten, first grade. I wasn't. I didn't get in till about seventh or eighth grade, something like that. So big gap there. But through the years, I did try to find things. I don't know why I never found Chabad. That's another question I have. My first exposure really to Chabad was in the late 80s when my kids were going to Sunday school. And then they went to the Chabad to learn how to make matzah, I believe it was. So, anyway, we're up to meeting Rabbi Dice now. And he really has planted a seed. And I've increased my library of Jewish books, Jewish music. I bought a special cabinet to keep everything in, one that has a super wide top, so I can lay a book out on top of it, the Chumash, and read it. And I purchased a shofar, and I owe it all really to Chabad, Rabbi Dice, Tefillin Project for sure. There's a certain magic, I guess, in the Tefillin. When I was participating at Shuri Torah, I never saw anyone put on a tefillin. I mean, I kind of knew what it was. I saw the pictures. Even at my bar mitzvah, we didn't do it. I can't understand that, but I can't dwell on it, and I don't think I can go back and ask why. But it was something that it always intrigued me because it had such ancient roots. I feel like it carries something untouchable.
And
And
what's
when
that?
we put and when we put it on, it makes us untouchable. So,
Love that. Love that. So speaking of tefillin, maybe we could hone in on that more. Why don't you speak about, what you felt, the day, Jackie and I we came to Portland, and I know you weren't expecting to get your own pair. You're just expecting, tefillin class. But I mean, for me, is one of the most touching moments in my life. Like things you said at that giveaway is just like, a lot of people, they're, I don't know, 20, 30 years old, and it's like, oh, it's too late. I can't change. And you're a prime example of it's never too late. There's always time to connect back to God, especially now what's going on with happened on October 7th. And people are finally coming back and realizing it's like, what am I here for? What am I supposed to do? Is Hashem in the world. I'm supposed to connect with him. And I mean, that whole experience for me was life changing. So I'd love to hear more about your point of view from it because you changed my life and
Mm.
my experience putting on Tefillin for the rest of my life, and hopefully can change
Well,
many others by listening to this as well. So love to hear more.
well, thank you. Well, first of all, know what I didn't know something special was going to happen, but I knew I had to hustle. So I had been working out of town that day, and it was a crummy day. I lost my wallet. I was running late. I'm diabetic, so I hadn't eaten anything. So my brain was just in waves. But anyway, I did make it there. I, I I can't explain my surprise other than saying I've never really been given anything like that before. And the thing is somebody cared to do that for me. That was the whole thing. Somebody cared. So um, perhaps those who are like me, who have strayed and kept to themselves and studied on their own, perhaps if they were reached out to like I was, it would make a change. I think it will. I think that's what you're doing, isn't it?
Try to
You're
do.
reaching out, making a change for those people. And what would that would probably never happen if you weren't there to do that, if you hadn't instituted that and presented that gift. You
The
have a lot.
beauty of the Jewish people, especially now you're seeing, is we're always here to help. We are created by Hashem to help every single person. You're seeing now people who are on one side or one spectrum of Judaism, helping people on opposite end, where they have fundamental arguments about specific things in our religion that are so important. It doesn't matter. We're all Jews. We're all brothers, and I think it's something we try to emulate with the Tefillin Project is we're all brothers. We're all here. We know we're all here for the same reason to just get closer to Hashem and to connect and it's what we're all about. Tefillin Project. We're just meant to every single Jew should have the opportunity, especially Chabad as well. Allowing everybody to put on tefillin. We're all meant to. Everybody should give the same opportunity, and hopefully, many people in the future, as we've seen, the past couple weeks, getting their own pairs of tefillin, but a lot of other people could get more in the future. It's just so much to give. Every single person is, something. I mean, right now I'm in Ish, and something the Rosh Hashiva person that created Ish Torah said is, if you know Aleph, teach Aleph. If you know a little bit about Judaism, teach a little bit about Judaism to somebody else. You know a little more about Judaism than somebody else. Maybe you know Aleph and Beis, the first two letters of the alphabet. Teach Aleph and Beis. There's always something to learn. Always something to learn from someone else and something to teach somebody else as well. So something we try to emulate, and I'm glad you picked up on it. Hopefully you can inspire others, maybe friends, family. It's never too late to connect. It's such a beautiful mitzvah we have to connect to Hashem, to put tefillin on every single day. And you were saying, wrap the straps on, you breathe in and just dive in for the people right now that are captive in Gaza and always just davening, putting these straps on. You said before, we're untouchable when we wear them. So I really, really, really like that. You said
Mhm.
that.
And I do want to try and share. In fact, my son, who is kind of gone the same way I did when it comes to Judaism, I've been helping him with it to fill in. He'll come over and I'll say, why don't we just check this out? No, no, I don't. I don't. Well, no, it'll only take a couple of minutes. It's like that guy on TV. He's pushing Bible. So, and he comes on really strong and he says, I just want to take a minute of your time. Please do this with me. And all of a sudden, he's into a prayer, just like that. Doesn't take a breath. I kind of have to do that with my kid. I got to say, okay, well, let's just go ahead and do that. This goes here, and then you do that. So just like that guy on TV, I don't take a breath. So, and beyond that, I have a cousin in Canada who I've been trying to introduce to Chabad, and he seems to be interested. And I'm sending him some of the things that I found that I could relate to. I hope he can as well. And it's stories, it's genealogy, it's a little bit about Chabad and the Rebbe. And so hopefully I can spread it around a little bit. So
Beautiful. I guess
pay back a little.
to end off this podcast, we learned so much about your story. Appreciate all the points that you made, and hopefully advice you've given to other people. But coming from someone who was at a later stage than most people to start putting the mitzvah, start doing the mitzvah tefillin, start getting their own pair and putting on every single day is. What do you recommend to people who were putting on and got lost, or people who are, I don't know, maybe trying to put on once a week, every other day, and have a pair, but they're not really so connected to it. Maybe Chabad comes to their office once, twice a week to their school. What would you say to them to help them realize what tefillin could do for them in the world?
Well, for me, it was a question of dedicating the time. It doesn't really take very long. Uh, and the more you do it, it seems like the less time it takes because you rap better, you learn the prayer a little bit better. So for others, I would just say dedicate another 5 to 7 minutes out of your morning to do that. And if you're a smoker, you probably put a pack of cigarettes next to your bed so you have a smoke first thing in the morning. Well, maybe put the tefillin beside your bed so you put the tefillin on first thing in the morning rather than have that smoke. And I say that because I was a smoker for many years and I didn't go to bed unless I knew I had smokes on that bedstand. So, in a way, you could say I've replaced those smokes with that tefillin, a much healthier choice
Yes.
for most of us. But beyond that, the only thing that I could say is what Rabbi Geller told me a long time ago. Whenever I had questions or how tos, he would just say, "Do the best you can do." And when it comes to putting on tefillin, just do the best you can do. That's what I've adopted, and I think I'm doing the best I can do right now. And I hope I can do better by next week or tomorrow. But I hope I can do better.
Of that mindset. Jerry, you're doing a great job. You're inspiration to me every single day. Every single time I put my tefillin on. And I think you could inspire the world. So thank you so much again for joining us for our fifth edition of Wrapped. And we look forward to being in touch and hopefully allowing everybody to put tefillin on in the world. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to our fifth episode of Wrapped. What an inspiration it was to interview Jerry and be able to meet him in person. Many people believe that it's too late to grow and connect with the Jewish roots, but Jerry clearly showed the world that it is never too late. May we all merit to realize this and discover our inner connection with Hashem.